Hi Fabiola, this is your class observation feedback video. And first, I will start mentioning the focus area that you chose at the beginning of this project with our mentor teacher, Andres Pardo. The first focus area that you chose was teaching methodology, and the second one was the use of materials. So, this feedback is going to give you comments regarding these two focus areas based on the data I gather during the second observation, right? So let's start first with the first focus area, that is teaching methodology. The class started with almost 90% of the use of L2 or English. So you were totally talking in English all the time with your students. It was a very good idea to create teams in the class. This allowed the students to cooperate in order to learn the animals and then to color them. Also, something that caught my attention was that all the instructions you gave to students were in English. This is very meaningful because they are exposed to the target language, or they were exposed to the target language all the time. Continuing with this feedback, it was also very positive that the students understood your directions in English. This allowed them to be immersed in an L2 environment. Also, something that was good was the use of images to play with kids in order to guess the hidden meaning of the animals. This was a very, very good activity with a huge inductive approach. As a recommendation, it would have been good that you could include some TPR games, total physical response activities. For example, ask students to mimic or imitate the sounds of each animal. Also, it would have been good to have given one animal to each student and then to ask them to be grouped. For example, lions with lions, rabbits with rabbits, etc. Also, now regarding the second focus area, that was the use of materials, I realized that all the materials of your class were well organized and already set and planned. This was something very good about your class. I realized that everything was planned, everything was organized. So this was something very good to highlight. Regarding this, it would have been good that the materials you design and plan would have fostered writing skills to students. One good way to do this, for example, is by modeling students some daily basis activities that animals do. For example, the model could be the image of the rabbit and then a sentence: rabbit jumps in the forests. And then, following this model, you could include also action verbs to students and not only vocabulary or isolated vocabulary. I think that the students were working very well. They were very, very motivated. So you need to challenge them more. And I think that it's time now that you start including some verbs about the actions animals do in their daily basis. And then try by asking them with this model to infer what activities animals do and then introduce verbs regarding the activities those animals do. And finally, with that model, ask them to write simple sentences. I think that they are ready, to create simple sentences by using the vocabulary learned and then by introducing action verbs and sometimes complements regarding the actions animals do in their daily basis. Finally, as a small recommendation, I recommend you to design activities when you can include all the four skills: listening, reading, writing, grammar, and vocabulary, of course, and speaking. So you can design in your classes activities that can have a didactic sequence and a progression of those skills. That will be my last recommendation. And last but not least, like an action plan for next year could be to focus your attention in the use of materials. You must design your materials taking into account the didactic sequence and the interconnection among the four skills. The activities you create must have listening, as I told you, reading, writing, and of course, speaking components. Thank you very much for your time. Have a nice year.